Hi everybody, Adrian Fuentes here. Did you know that the Democrats of Greater Tucson has a website, thedgt.org, and if you subscribe, it's only 20 bucks. You can support this great weekly communication where folks get together. Sometimes there's candidates, sometimes folks like me pop on to help understand what's going on in the world. The Democrats of Greater Tucson, thedgt.org. Join up today.
Since she won her election in 2020, Sadie Shaw has kept her promise to be the independent, critically thinking board member who sticks up for students, staff, and parents when no one else will. She's an artist, activist, and arts administrator from Tucson. She earned a BFA in Art and Visual Culture Education from the University of Arizona in 2019, while serving for 2 years as president of the Sugar Hill Neighborhood Association. Through this work, of a renaissance of creating placemaking projects has been initiated in a historic Black neighborhood. In 2019, Sadie was appointed by Ward 3 Council member Paul Durham to serve on the City of Tucson's Public Art and Community Design Committee. She served until September of 2022. Sadie currently serves on the League of Women Voters Board of Directors as an appointed member at large, as well as the Tucson Juneteenth Festival Board. She currently works at the Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona as their public art and community design administrator.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces. I'm Sadie. I serve on the Tucson Unified School District Governing Board. And today I'm just going to tell you a bit more about myself, what I've done so far in my first term, and what I hope to do if elected for a second term. So, Joe, you did such a great job introducing me. So some of this stuff you already heard. Of course, I'm from Tucson, born and raised. I'm a graduate of Amphi High School. I went to the University of Arizona, receiving a BFA in Art and Visual Culture Education. I'm a TUSD parent. I have a daughter who just started middle school. And also I'm a community organizer in Sugar Hill. Other than that, I'm an artist, an art educator, and an arts administrator. Here's a bit about what I've done as far as work, currently working at the Arts Foundation. And a few years ago, I was the proofreader for a book called Healing the Wounds of American Slavery. Back in college, I was an art instructor at Paint Night. It's that company where you go out to like a restaurant and you learn how to reproduce a painting. I did that for several years. It was really fun. But actually I started doing political work in high school. I went door to door in 2007. And a bit earlier and beyond, working on various initiatives, and also collecting signatures for candidates. And my first job was at Guinea's French Cafe. Many of you may have been there. It's a fabulous place to have breakfast. One thing that's really important to me is doing community service. And so I am a member of the League of Women Voters, and I was elected to the board a couple of years ago. Started the Sugar Hill Community Land Trust, and also served on the PAC-DC committee, as Joe talked about a little bit earlier. Currently, I'm the vice president of the Sugar Hill Neighborhood Association, and I was the president in 2018 through 2020. One of the main things that I did during that time was expand the neighborhood boundary lines and also change our neighborhood name to reflect what it's been called colloquially for decades. During that time, I also did the Sugar Hill Oral History Project. Most recently, we are organizing to change the name of Mansfield Park due to the conditions, covenants, and restrictions that's on our property deeds. It has some racist language, basically, that states that African Americans cannot live in Sugar Hill unless they are domestic servants. So look out for that call to the public that the Parks Department is going to be putting out very soon. I'm a proud member of the Tucson Juneteenth Festival Board, and I also served on the Jedi Committee for the Arts Foundation starting in college and up until I started to work for them. Okay, let me tell you a bit about why I decided to run in 2020. That photo on the right is a picture of my daughter Salome the summer before school started. You know, when I enrolled her in TUSD, I really didn't realize that I had to check schools to see if they had the essential classes that I grew up with, like art, music, and PE. Come to find out once she started going to a West Side elementary school that her school didn't have any of those classes. And I tried my best to change that as a parent. I went to the principal, I spoke to the site council, and we even went all the way up to the director of fine arts to see how we can bring arts to Monzo. It was pretty disappointing. Everyone was blaming each other, pointing the finger. And so I wasn't able to accomplish that, but a community member approached me, asked me if I would consider running for TUSD board, and that really wasn't on my radar. I had no clue about what the school board did, but I remembered back to my efforts to try to get art at my daughter's school, and I figured, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for me to get art for my daughter and all of her peers. Not only that, I noticed that the conditions of her school and the district in general were I guess could be improved. There wasn't often toilet paper in the bathroom, soap in the soap dispensers, and a lot of kids were being disciplined. And, you know, from my talks with some of the administrators, I saw that there could be a lot more transparency and accountability with how we use our budgets. So those are the reasons why I decided to run. Now, in these last 4 years, I have made some steps to accomplish some of those goals that I spoke about. It's been a wild ride. I've learned so much, and I hope to continue on with this work. So let me tell you about what I have done so far. So my main goal, of course, was to bring art into the district. And I'm happy to say that I accomplished that within my first 6 months. We managed to approve a comprehensive art and music package using COVID relief grants that brought art and music to every school in our district. Let's see. And then as far as transparency and accountability, we are making some headway on that, but we do have a long way to go in our district. Back in 2023, the board tried to limit the call to the audience, which I believe is really an important part of any jurisdiction to preserve the rights of the public to speak to the board or the mayor and council or what have you. We were trying to eliminate the written comments that you could basically email the board secretary and have those comments read to the board and to members of the public. This was during a time when not only TUSD, but the Board of Supervisors and the City Council was having a lot of heat at their meetings, lots of differing opinions and often controversial opinions. And so it was this suggested policy change was really born out of that. I, of course, pushed back on this and even tried to go a step further to expand our call to the audience. Many jurisdictions like the City Council and I think the Board of Supervisors also allows for Zoom calls to the audience or phone-ins. I tried to get that passed, but it failed. But luckily, you know, my little spiel about accessibility, how there's a lot of immunocompromised people in our district. There's a lot of working people in our district who don't want to go to Duffy at 5:30 and stay for several hours to be able to be heard. and people who have limited transportation. And so we have to preserve the rights of the public. And thankfully, the rest of the board decided to not revise our call to the audience policy. All right, so as you all know, I started serving on the board in the height of COVID-19. And there was a lot of, misinformation being spread. One of the main things that happened in the height of all this was that the board was being told that we do not have the authority to close down schools if there is an outbreak. I thought that was rather peculiar. Reading some of the things that were on the Pima County Health Department website, checking out what the Arizona Department of Health had to say. I reached out to both of those organizations directly. I emailed Dr. Cullen and also reached out to the Department of Education and see if they had anything to say about that. What I was told directly from Dr. Cullen was that they do not have the authority to close down schools. Same with the Arizona Department of Health Services. They did not as well. But these were things that the board was being told that they were the ones to close down schools. And of course, this was during a time when so many of our teachers were out sick. So much so that we had corralled students into like the cafeteria, into the multi-purpose room where there were hundreds of students just basically spreading the virus to each other. And I pushed back with legal, I pushed back with the rest of the board and the superintendent and sort of got gaslit a bit, but that's why I made this statement. And there was a whole news story about this, about who had the authority. Luckily, in the end, it was settled that school boards did have the authority to close down schools. If you think like, how could the Arizona Department of Health Services have as much time to, with all of the school districts in our state to actually be the ones combing through the data, since we are in its local control, we did have the authority, and it's unfortunate because within this time, we did lose many staff members to the virus. People passed away, and really the impact during that time, I can't really be measured. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely close down some of these schools for a week or so, so that the virus could get under control. And if you're interested in watching this news story, you could find it on my website under the media tab. All right, so school safety. So those are some of our school safety officers. I voted to hire more school safety officers because these gentlemen and many other men and women cover our school, which is 230 square miles. Many of them were not just permanently stationed at a school, especially our high schools that have the most disciplinary infractions. And so the board voted to hire more school safety officers, which was controversial for some groups, but I saw the need. Learning about everything that's happening, the ins and outs of our district. Not only that, there was a thing that happened on one of our South Side schools. There was an active, well, he wasn't shooting yet, but this gentleman had a gun. And he was threatening one of our elementary schools, Mission View specifically, and the administration called South Tucson Police. They failed to respond, but our guys were there within minutes. They were defending the campus, making sure that nobody entered. And one of the officers brought to my attention that although they carried handguns, they did not have bulletproof vests. And so I pushed that we should definitely protect our school safety officers. In fact, it's good practice that anyone who has a a firearm, if they're in a security capacity, should also be protected with a bulletproof vest. So thankfully, we got that. And so as you can see, some of our school safety officers in the photo now are protected. And this just, they don't have to choose between their lives and maybe the lives of students that they may need to protect. Here's another thing that I started to do and hope to continue to do is to raise the expectations for our students. This image that you see here is a snippet from an Arizona Daily Star article that came out talking about the dress code revision that the board did this year. Basically, the board decided to revise the policy to remove the phrase buttocks and torso must be covered. I was one of the no votes to revise this policy because, if you ever see high schools getting let out or happen to be working within our schools, the dress these days, it shows a lot, and some of our principals and other staff basically have commented to the board that students are wearing like bathing suits and even less than bathing suits at our schools. Of course, this isn't everyone. It's not like 100% students are dressing like this, but it's come to a point where it is I guess, tarnishing the education environment. And I think that if we had higher expectations for our students, if we found a way to basically have a culture of excellence where students knew of what we expected of them and that we were trying to create a learning environment, perhaps students will rise to the occasion. Because if they know that they can get away with things like dress or, getting high in the restrooms, then they will do that. And that is really, has been the case at a lot of our high schools and middle schools, unfortunately. I'm also trying to raise the proficiency rates of our district, and not just the proficiency rates, but the goals that we set for these proficiency rates. Currently, the board is aiming at a 2% increase to improve our test scores in ELA and math. And I try to get us to set the bar a little higher, go for a 5% goal. Because I think at this point we are we're in crisis mode. I would say roughly 25% of our students are proficient in ELA and math, and I don't think we can afford to try to take baby steps with this. We have to really set the bar high, tell our students that what we expect of them, that we want them to be on time, that they have to be in class. And so trying to change that culture, but it's been tough as I'm only one board member. And of course, we need a majority to change things. All right, so school to prison pipeline, that was something that I had an aspiration with in my first campaign. It's been really difficult to take care of this specific issue, but we're taking steps to do that slowly but surely. One thing I was responsible for was making sure that we do a better job at identifying our McKinney-Vento students. McKinney-Vento students basically means our homeless students, either living on the streets, living with a relative, evicted. There's a lot of different variables that classify a student and family as McKinney-Vento. In my daughter's first couple of years, actually, we were McKinney-Vento, we were in McKinney-Vento status, and unfortunately, like, we had to fill out these forms basically like into the school year, months into the school year, that like asked parents to kind of I guess tell the school site what their background was. And I found that, I personally did not even want to fill out the form, and I wondered how many other families were falling through the cracks. We do have a department dedicated to helping out McKinney-Vento families. And so I directed the superintendent to, instead of gathering this information, like after school has begun, to have that form be a part of the registration process so that we can identify families, we can provide them with services, and really know the state of our district without, parents maybe opting out of sharing that information with us. This image that you see here is Project More. It's one of our alternative education learning sites. And it's the previous site where our district alternative education program was housed. DAPE, as it is known, is where we put long-term suspended students so that they could go to a classroom environment and get an education when they have like a discipline infraction that keeps them out of the classroom from anywhere between 30 to 180 days. And so unfortunately, the board voted to kind of dismantle this program. It's still living, but it's definitely like a shadow of what it was in the past. Because we were remote, there were not really any long-term suspended students. And so we cut a lot of the staff members who worked here for a long time. We cut the psychologists, the behavioral interventionists. And it took a long time to build that back up. DAPE is no longer in Project More. In fact, it was kind of like a mess of what we did. We moved the Project More DAPE site to Catalina. And unfortunately, at that Catalina site, we had middle school students who were on a high school campus. And you can imagine, like, with a mischievous child given access to a high school, with kind of problems that can create, and those problems that totally existed. And so we're still working to get back DAPE to where it was. That's why I created the Alternative Education Advisory Committee. It's a board committee that is subject to open meeting law. We're actually going to be meeting later today. If anyone of you would like to check that out, look on the district website. But the committee is tasked to try to get our DAPE program, our online learning academy, Project More, our teenage parent high school, and our credit recovery to be more effective, to reach students where they are, and make each of these programs more accessible. So I totally am a huge supporter of our TUSD staff. This photo is of some of the TEA group who came to speak at our board meeting. And so I'm often the board member who is vocal after call to the audience and affirms what the public tells me, puts it on the agenda, or pushes forward in executive session. I was the main advocate behind the substitutes joining the Arizona State Retirement System. They were politicking with us for years to be able to put money towards their retirement. And it took a long time, but finally we helped them opt into that program. I most recently was the board member who voluntarily recognized substitutes as a member of the TEA, as they had all came to try to get us to do that. They're still not officially within that bargaining unit, but I hope that they will be able to join very soon. I'm also the board member who tried to get us to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour in 2021. This was one of my things that I started in the first 6 months. It took the board like a year to finally decide to increase our wages to $15 an hour before the time that it was mandated, because, you know, we were hearing from staff that some of their students were making more money than they were over at EG's or Target. And so, you know, I said to the board, we have to do this, we have to do it now. You know, we have to do better. Like 15 still is a pretty low bar, and we have to find a way to, you know, make our staff feel valued and have a livable wage. Okay, so I talked a bit about all the things that I helped to do, but there's also a lot of things that I tried to do, but failed unfortunately due to not having the second or not having the votes. I voted no against raising the price of breakfast and lunch. This was about a year or so ago, before we got that grant that made it so that all students could have breakfast and lunch, because, you know, I know how tough it is, even though, you know, our breakfast and lunch at the time was, you know, around $1 or $2. If you have a lot of kids, it still adds up, especially 5 days a week. And a lot of the times families don't, they might not fill out that that form that gives students access to free breakfast and lunch. Sometimes poverty can be invisible, and so I've thought that we shouldn't, you know, force our students' families to pay even more for a meal. I also voted no against raising the price of pre-K. Voted no, most recently against having activity fees for sports, clubs, and competitive programs. My daughter was just added to the volleyball team, and we had to pay $30, and we were given 1 day notice that she had to pay this $30 in order to play in her first game, which is tomorrow. And, you know, although we have scholarships for sports, there's definitely not enough money to go around for many students we have. And I don't want, you know, a fee, however small, to be a hindrance for students' participation. I know back when my dad was in high school, you know, sports fees weren't a thing. And so I think if we can make these programs more accessible, it'll give students more of an opportunity to enjoy their school, and it'll relieve some stress for families. I voted no against selling 1010, our administration building. You might have heard we sold it. It's still kind of in the works right now, but we sold it and then bought the USA Annex building on 6th, which is also known as like the old TEP building. We sold it for around 17 million and then bought the building for you know, around 13 or so million dollars. But then with renovations and the purchasing of furniture, it's all kind of equaling out. And so because we're facing a budget deficit in the coming years, I thought, like, if we're going to sell it, we might as well just keep the money and use it for things that we may need in the future. So unfortunately, that's still going to happen. Let's see, this is one thing I've hoped to do in the future. I tried to get it so that all students in high school have to take at least half credit of CTE to graduate. Currently, they have to take a half credit of either CTE, which is Career and Technical Education, or Fine Arts. And we have such a great Career and Technical Education program where students can not only learn really applicable skills, but they can graduate with certification and be able to start a career right after high school. And so many students just don't realize all these programs that we have. And when they do realize it, it might be too late for them to get certified. And so I moved to have 0.5 credits of CTE be a graduation requirement. Our director of CTE was in favor of this, but unfortunately, the board did not support this measure, but I hope that we can keep pushing for an expansion of CTE in the future. From from the time I started on the board, I also tried to fund our libraries and school librarians. In 2014, the board defunded our libraries, unfortunately. We eliminated the librarian position. We still have some librarians, around 14 in our district, but we don't hire anyone who is basically certified. They might have a certification to be a librarian and be a master's educated, but we pay them as librarian assistants. And then back then, we also used to offer like $9 per student per school to go to our libraries, and currently it's absolutely much lower than that. It's not a given. Some schools don't get any money per year to update their libraries. And I think, you know, the path to literacy starts at our libraries. It starts with physical books. I know that I was taught how to do research by my school librarian. And so, you know, if we have such a low literacy rate in our district, and I wonder if it correlates to us defunding our libraries back in 2014. And I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but I'm trying to still raise our goal of getting at least 5% proficiency rates in ELA and math per year. Okay, so what are my goals for the next term? Another main goal with the arts is to make it more equitably spread. We have schools in our district like Davis that has that fabulous mariachi program, Line Weaver, where students in third grade are taught to read music through the recorder program, Tucson High with their fabulous theater program. We have these schools that are bastions for the arts. And although we did fund arts throughout the district, it's still not equitably spread. There's still schools that have a floating arts teacher. There's still schools that basically could be improved. And unfortunately, with the package that we passed in 2021 using the COVID relief grants, some of these art teachers are already being laid off. Unfortunately, I heard about our teacher at Ross Scrooge who was let go due to budget constraints. And so if elected for a second term, I want to make the arts more equitable and also find permanent funding, because, you know, art can be transformative. It helps students get through the day, and it breeds innovation. And so we have to, you know, believe in the arts and think that it's one of those critical subjects that has to stay in our schools. I want to harbor a culture of excellence in TUSD. Got to raise the expectations and standards for our students. Tell them that, you know, we expect them to be on time, to do their work, and to dress appropriately so that they can reach their highest potential. And then, of course, we just have to invest in the essentials. Essentials like physical education. Unfortunately, our district does not have PE classes at every school, if you can believe it. You know, maybe in a couple of years, we might not have an art teacher again at every school. And so these essentials like math is of course essential. Reading is essential, but so are the arts. So are physical education, and of course, so are libraries. And we have to make sure that students are able to have the teachers and the subject matters that will support them, you know, now, kindergarten, senior year, and beyond. And I'm just here in this slide, I'm just going a bit into some of the ways that we can do that I kind of already expressed, having robust visual, musical, and performing arts in every school, raising that bar on literacy, writing, and math, and also funding our libraries, getting librarians in every school, and making sure that kids are able to move around and have that, you know, hour of physical education, have that hour of art making, whatever it may be. And all in all, I think we should create an environment in TUSD where students are inspired to learn. We're doing it already, but we can sure do a better job. And so that is my goal in the next term. And, you know, I certainly hope you'll join me in this movement of mine to keep up with the district. Is my screen still being shared?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. You've got questions. You've been
Oh,
giving a lot
okay.
of great ideas, and
Right
folks are
on.
waiting to ask you a question. So Lillian Fox, what is your question?
Okay, Sadie is a star, and the Democrats on the board, the other Democrats, are so disappointing. It is unbelievable. But anyway, there was a controversy because the claim has been made that Trujillo has only been showing up in Tucson for 2 days a week because his house, his child, and his wife are all in Phoenix. And I requested via Freedom of Information copies of his calendars. It has taken me 2.5 months to get the things. And I know we're trying to work on exactly this issue to find out, you know, if he was even here or what was going on. What are your plans in regards to making, well, I don't know. What are you going to do, Sadie?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, this was a hard decision for me to, you know, I guess speak publicly about this so-called rumor that staff had been talking about and coming to me personally about since I basically joined the board. And I figured, you know, enough was enough. I had heard it from so many people that I wanted to investigate. You know, our superintendent is the board's sole employee. And one thing I hope to do in the future is to modify his contract to make sure that he is at a school every day at 10:10 every day.
Other hands up for you. So you ready for another question? I'm gonna go ahead and go to James Stevenson then. James?
Wow, Sadie, I voted for you the first time, not really knowing, you know, anything what to expect, and after hearing your presentation here, I'm just overawed by what your goals are and what you've done and everything. I'm gonna try it. I had many different questions, but I'll just throw one out for now. In regarding to the security aspect, I recall a controversy about the boundary fence. I think it was Sam Hughes Elementary School. The district wanted to proceed with raising a fence. The neighborhood didn't think it was going to be pretty enough. How was that resolved? And do you have any additional comments regarding that?
Absolutely. Gosh, thank you for bringing that up. It's such a unfortunate note in our district. Yeah, so last year, a person managed to enter Sam Hughes Elementary and get on their campus. They were threatening students, saying that they had a bomb. And it was really scary for that school community. And so, you know, of course, the staff and the parents of that school community demanded that the fence in the front and surrounding the school would be raised. And we were gonna do that. We were absolutely on our way to you know, go and purchase an 8-foot fence, but then we had some members of the Sam Hughes Neighborhood Association who came to politic with us at the board meeting, saying that chain link fence would be like a prison for the students. It would, you know, take away their property value, and it would just, you know, not look good for their neighborhood. I definitely pushed back on this. I felt that, we can't put aesthetics above security, above the safety of our students. And I was really surprised to find out that our superintendent and the previous president had gone to this Sam Hughes Neighborhood Association meeting and affirmed with their group that they would, take their time. They could raise money for a nicer looking fence. And, so we never raised the fence. We never put up that chain link fence. Really unfortunate, especially because just last week we had a similar incident at Sam Hughes where this person threatened the students, threatened the staff, saying that they're going to kill everyone, and the school went into lockdown. It's another thing of transparency and accountability where we totally dropped the ball. And so, myself and other board members like Ms. Ekstrom, who is here, said enough is enough. We must put the chain link fence up immediately. We can't politic with a group that, is more concerned with the looks than safety. And so we are moving towards putting that super high chain link fence up ASAP.
Okay, so Lucy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, Sadie.
Hi.
So when I first started teaching in TUSD, we had over 60,000 students. And of course, I know with everything, the charter schools and how people leave the urban area. But there's so many different programs to reach out and try and get students to come back to TUSD. I wondered if you could speak to your involvement or what you know of that has been working, hasn't been working. What do you see as the the best route to go forward to get some of our students back?
Yeah, great question. Our enrollment is dwindling, and something's got to give. I think if we react quicker to the needs of parents and students, we could keep a lot of students in our district, because a lot of people leave out of frustration because they have an issue at a specific school site with a teacher or with a bully, and it's not resolved quick enough or to the parents' liking. I think if we act in real time and kind of eliminate some of the red tape, that we could keep a lot of families in our district who leave out of frustration. And of course, there are a lot of different options for education nowadays. And so, that's another thing, because there are parents they don't want to wait. And so they just leave because there might be a better option. But, we do find that a lot of families who leave come back to us because some of those charter schools do not offer the services that our district does, like special education, counseling, speech therapy, sports, arts, things like that. And so I think right now also we just have to do a better job with communication to let families know that we have these incredible programs and that, we welcome them, whether they've been in our district in the past and left, or have never taken classes with us before, that, we're open to having them again. And so, we can be strategic in getting students back or capturing more families.
Okay, Gail Kamaris. So Gail, do you have a question?
I do, but first I want to thank Sadie for an excellent presentation. I feel like I learned so very much today. You mentioned how you have services for homeless students. I wondered how the district deals with kids that are bouncing between homelessness and foster care, or bouncing from foster care to foster care. Excuse me, because I know those kids get moved around a lot.
Yeah, great question. So we do have a whole department that handles those issues. Most recently, we received a grant where, students, whether they're on their own, part of the Youth on Their Own program, or still with their parents, can get vouchers for a hotel to stay at. And we do, we work closely with the city and the county when there's more needs that need to be met, even if it's like utility assistance and all that. Still, this is a huge issue, not only in our district, but, countywide. And so we need more resources, absolutely, to handle the influx. But yeah, there's a whole group of people who work to help that student population get what they need.
Okay, Shirley Muni has a question.
Yeah, hi. I put a note in the chat. I really appreciate your emphasis on art education, all the arts. But I wanted to ask, apparently around the country, there's a big movement to limit the use of cell phones in class. Is this an issue for TUSD?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a huge issue. And some school campuses are way more strict than others. My daughter's school, Dodge, they have like a no tolerance policy, like you have to leave your phone in your backpack from the start of the bell to the end of school. So yeah, we're trying to grapple with it. We kind of let schools control how they deal with this issue. But the board is actually looking into reinstating lockers at our middle schools and high schools. And I think that will go a long way with, telling students. So students will have a secure place basically to put these devices instead of having that temptation to like unzip that part of their backpack where their cell phones may be, and that phone or device will be safely locked up, down the hall in a locker. So I think that'll really help the issue.
Okay, Lillian, your question.
TUSD spends over 4 times as much on Trujillo's salary and his office than they spend on books and media for the libraries. They spend well over 4 times as much on out-of-state travel as they do on the libraries. Who on the board is supporting your effort to actually fund the TUSD libraries?
Well, I mean, I think everyone in general likes libraries, but like I haven't really okay, for instance, at our last board meeting, we have a budget advisory committee that basically is a group of people who are tasked to find a way to fund all of our goals. And so at our last meeting, we were, creating their list of things to review for the next year. And I moved that we add funding librarians at every school, like certified master's educated librarians. And also putting more money towards each of these libraries so that they could update their materials. And I did not receive a second on that from any board member. And, because there was no second, it wasn't one of the things for them to look into. And unfortunately, one of the board members, I guess that committee had looked into libraries and librarians back in like 2023 or 2022. And their recommendation was that libraries weren't the pathway to literacy. I don't know what they were looking into, but, that's not my belief. I think, that's where you learn to read, where you learn to research. And so, seems like I'm the only one, but I know if we had the money for it, I'm sure most of the board members would be down to fund those things.
If we have if we're spending over 4 times as much on out-of-state travel, we can afford to fix the libraries. And the research says libraries make an incredible difference in children's literacy, particularly low-income children. High-income people, they can buy all the books their kids need. Lower-income kids don't get nearly the exposure to reading materials.
Right.
Thank you for your work, Sadie.
Of course, thank you.
Okay, Lee Oler, you had the last question.
Oh, thank you, Joe. And thanks for everybody else who's listening today. And thanks for Sadie, because I live pretty close to you. And I'm glad of that, because I'm just glad of that. This business about the libraries, I worked at Roscoe's for many years. I was the music teacher, band and orchestra. And I can appreciate how important band and orchestra is, and the libraries. I mean, I go to our Woods Library here, and there's a lot of kids in there. Most of them are sitting on a computer doing something. I don't know what. But the library is so important to the school, as is the counselors. And when I was at Ross Scrooge, no names, but we had a counselor that wasn't doing her job. And that really upset me. And there were very good programs for counselors to work within a school district or school. And she didn't like that idea. The other thing is that I feel like some of the problems that were mentioned today are the principal and the vice principal are so important, or assistant principal, whatever we call them. And we had a wonderful person at Ross Scrooge that I hope he's a principal now and doing wonderful things still. Just great. So I love your ideas. I'm a little bit concerned about the criticism of the current superintendent, because he's the one that got the music and art back in the schools when it was totally being decimated by the previous person, whoever that was. So I do have things, he does some things that are pretty good. So I don't think he should be cut down totally, like some people are doing. So I think, you're encouraging me to go to a board meeting and sit there and raise my hand or speak or whatever, because you're really, we have a good system. And I say I've seen the principal at many events because I get called on to play at them still. So keep up the good work and don't let the turkeys get you down. I don't know who you're talking about as far as the people that are in the other board members, but please keep on going. And if you need any help from Democrats, just holler.
Yeah.
I know the school board is a non-party, whatever you call it, but
Nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan. Thank you. And I think we have people here that would be willing to step up and help with funding or whatever. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Lee, thank you. Sadie, what a great program. Everybody, let's see some hands clapping. And yeah, there we go. We're good. Sadie, you're in our Hall of Fame. That was a great program. So.
Well, gosh, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for having me, for listening, for asking your questions and providing comments on how you feel. I appreciate it. Yeah, maybe I'll see you at a future meeting. And yeah, feel free to visit my website, shaw4tusd.com to see how you can volunteer or to donate or just to, write me a letter or what have you. Yeah, thanks again.
Hey everybody, it's Senator Mark Kelly. As all of you know, Arizona Democrats have had a lot of important wins over the last few years. We won 2 U.S. Senate races, and we delivered Arizona's electoral votes to President Biden and Vice President Harris. We elected Governor Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, and Attorney General Chris Mays. Now, those elections were close, and our victories mattered. Arizona Democrats from the federal to the local level have delivered real results for our state on critical issues like combating climate change, lowering prescription drug costs, protecting the right to vote, and preventing more restrictions on abortion access. The Democrats of Greater Tucson offers the opportunity to hear from elected officials and candidates about that important work and the issues that matter to them. That information will be invaluable as Arizonans head to the polls. So this election cycle, whether you're signing up to knock doors, make phone calls, or joining the Democrats of Greater Tucson to hear from and speak to Democrats in our area, please know that your voice matters and we need you on this team. Thank you.